Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Oh, thank you, John. Kind of a sad day around the Green household today. We're closing the pool down. Fool Jay. Actually,
way to state the obvious, Lowell Green.
Yeah, it's a sad day. I mean, it's particularly during pandemic. I mean, about all you can do is go out into the pool, right? Can't go anyplace else. But it's a sad day for another reason as well, and that is that I don't know what happened, but we had some lovely little squabs, that's baby pigeons, this summer. We've done very well, but we had a beautiful little squab. It must have been 6 weeks old, all fully feathered, beautiful. And we went out the other day, and both the father who feeds them and the little squab were gone. They were dead. I don't know what happened. So kind of a sad day here. We had to bury 2 pigeons and close the pool. And as for anything else, well, Groundhog Day, right? It's Groundhog Day. And Wyerton Willie says, you remember Wyerton Willie, right? 4 more years of Trudeau. He didn't see his shadow. There's no shadow. So we've got 4 more years of the esteemed Justin Trudeau. World-renowned Justin Trudeau. Savior of the world, the planet, and space, outer space. $600 million, that's about $17 million a day for 36 days. And hey, how does that song go, John? Right back where we started?
I played that song this morning, as a matter of fact.
Right back where we started.
Started from, yep. That's funny.
But you know what? Hey, am I going to whine? Absolutely not. This is what people want. People have spoken. The people are never wrong in a democracy, okay? Justin Trudeau has done such a great job, according to Canadians, that he deserves to be richly rewarded. The people, as I say, are never wrong, okay? Scandal, incompetence, corruption. Hey, that's not a problem. This is Canada. Not only is it welcome, but it is celebrated. I just wonder, John, I mean, you know, because we've rewarded everything, including sexual assault here, like if I go out and rob a bank, am I going to be elected to something? Will I be rewarded?
If you're not, you should be.
Now, if I convert to liberal and wear a sports jacket with a big L here, like for a liberal, maybe I could borrow Justin's sports jacket and go out and rob a bank, what do you think they would do to me? Oh, welcome, Mr. Green. How much would you like to take? That's fine and dandy. You're a liberal. Just take whatever you want. It's all fully insured. What the hell, right? I'll tell you, one thing that grates me a little bit about this, okay? Well, there's a lot, but the fact of the matter is this is the second election in a row when more people voted Conservative than voted for the Liberals. As a matter of fact, the Conservatives outpolled Liberals by about 600,000 votes. That's not to be sneezed at. This is the second year in a row that the Conservatives have outpolled, even under Andrew Scheer. The popular vote was greater for Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives 2 years ago, and it's greater this time, as I say, by about 600,000 votes. It's quite a substantial number. Now, of course, this is the system we have, so we have to live with it. This is a system, by the way, that now you may remember. I hate to remind you, Liberals, of some of the promises that your esteemed leader has broken, but this was one of them. You must remember that I forget which election, 2000, who knows, when he promised unequivocally, this will be the last election with the first past the post system. Remember that? He repeated that once, nay, 1,000 times. He's going to change the system. The only problem is, when he began to look at it and realized how the system really favors the Liberals, he decided, maybe I won't change it. And he didn't. And as a consequence, once again, we have Conservatives outpolling Liberals, but losing the election. Unbelievable. Another question that I have, I've got a couple of relatives who live in Alberta. And I was talking to one of them this morning. He called me in an absolute rage. Well, he spends most of his time in a rage, to be honest with you. What he said was that, listen, if anybody thinks that they could drive through Alberta with a Quebec or Ontario license plate, think again, Lowell. Advise people not to try it, okay? He said, I will not be responsible for what happens. So I just thought I would issue that warning. So my question is, as you know, there is already in Alberta a rather substantial separatist movement. And I would not be surprised if this doesn't really, really add strength to that. Whether we're dealing with a serious problem in Alberta, I don't know in regards separation, but I would not be surprised. People are some mad. Although, one of the things that puzzles me, a lot of things puzzle me. Hey, when you're 85, a lot of things will puzzle you too, or they should. But believe it or not, a Liberal actually got elected in downtown Calgary. Like, how can that happen? After everything that Trudeau and the Liberals have done to Alberta, destroyed the economy, laughed at it, poked fun at it, called them Neanderthal, everything that the Liberals have done, and they still elected a member in downtown Calgary? Ay, tickle my fanny. How the hell can that happen? I don't know. So, what do you think? Any thoughts on that? Here's what my thinking is, that don't worry, folks, be happy. Okay, you should play that song, John, a few times. Don't worry, be happy. Yeah,
Sound effects
right.
on demand is apparently my new specialty.
I mean, come on, $10 a day daycare will be here within the next, probably by tomorrow, right? All you reserves, you'll have clean drinking water by the end of the day. Inflation will be brought under control. Trudeau's in charge here, right? The price of lettuce will plummet. $1, you know what? $1 will very soon be able to buy you a big, beautiful T-bone steak. Trudeau's in charge, okay? All is well with the world. Be happy. Give us the whistle again, John. Be happy, be happy. Trudeau's in charge.
Don't worry. Be happy.
O'Toole, I thought, fought a good, clean battle. Stayed away from most of the vitriol, the mudslinging that Trudeau obviously engaged in. But here we come again to something that puzzles me. I don't understand why O'Toole let Trudeau hammer away at him over this business of vaccinated candidates. Every rally in the last 2 or 3 days, every rally that Trudeau had, he would pound away, and he would pretend that O'Toole was an anti-vaxxer, or he would try to have you believe that O'Toole is an anti-vaxxer, and he would say, this man is so opposed to vaccines, he won't even insist that his own candidates be vaccinated. And there may be some truth to that. So, this obviously, I think this cost O'Toole a lot of votes. I think people begin to look at him and say, Jesus, is this guy really serious? Because the overwhelming evidence is that most people in Canada have been vaccinated, support that, and even support vaccine passports. So when Trudeau convinces the electorate, or some of them, that O'Toole really doesn't believe in vaccine, People began to believe it. But I mean, this could have been stopped in its tracks. All O'Toole had to do was say, listen, I must tell you right now that I am insisting that all my candidates be fully vaccinated. In fact, if he'd been smart, he would have insisted on that enough. But certainly he should have cut it off in the bud. But that's just one of my complaints. You may have some thoughts on that. I think it raises the question, in your opinion, should O'Toole be replaced? Replaced perhaps by Mad Max? Oh, and by the way, I want to thank all of the Mad Hatters, the tinfoil Mad Hatters. About 5% of the vote. Not enough. I don't think that we can blame the PPC for costing the Conservatives the election. But I have had a very close look, and it's pretty obvious that at least 4 and maybe even 5 ridings, the PPC vote essentially guaranteed a victory for the Liberals. It was that close. So I want to thank you. And I don't have to thank you. Trudeau thanks you. And by the way, I understand that Trudeau was only too anxious to help you at any time. I mean, he just sent out $61 million to other segments of the media. He just sent another $400 million to the CBC. So if you PPC, if you'd like to grow your votes a little bit, I'm sure that Trudeau would be glad to fund you, okay? I mean, there's lots of money. It's taxpayers' money. What the hell? So anyway, thanks to all of this ragtag group of tinfoil Mad Hatters led by Mad Max. And I'm getting suggestions that maybe Mad Max should take over the Conservative Party. Right, and my name's Napoleon. So what's your reaction? More people voted Conservative than Liberal. Is that a good sign? Do you think that's a hopeful sign? Should O'Toole stay on or should he be booted out? Your thoughts. No whining, please, okay? The people have spoken. People are never wrong. And I mean, come on. It's only $600 million of your money. Well, actually, $610 million. I mean, come on. I mean, that's peanuts, okay? It's only your money. I mean, come on. Actually, you're not paying for it. Your kids will pay for it. Grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great-great-great-grandkids. They'll pay for it, so you got nothing to worry about. $600 million? Hell, he should have spent $1 billion. There's one thing. And then, John, we'll go to some texts.
All right.
Now, I know this is going to tick off some of you anti-vaxxers out there. I don't give a sweet flying fox for it. There is no question in my mind that this election will cost lives. I mean that. If you saw the huge lineups at some Toronto ridings yesterday, well into the night, I mean, they were still lined up like a mile long at 10 o'clock last night at least one riding. People all jammed together, many without masks, not paying any attention to distancing. Of course, it was a super spreader event. And I mean, Trudeau knew that. He called the election during the height of the fourth wave. He knew that. He knew that it would force people to be jammed together in situations. I mean, on one hand, he's claiming what a great fighter he is against COVID and what he's going to do. On the other hand, he creates a situation which forces people, if they're going to vote, to jam together. And they sure as hell were jammed together in plenty of places, certainly in downtown Toronto. So as a consequence, you can be sure that the incidence of COVID will rise in the next few days, the next few weeks. And when the incidence of COVID rises, the incidence of death arrives. So there's no question in my mind that at the very least, Trudeau can be held responsible for causing deaths because of his calling of the election when he did. John, some texts, please.
Boy, do we have some texts today, which is fantastic. We invite you to post on whatever social media platform you are on. We'll bring them into the video for you and read some of them on the air. You can call the show as well or text the show at 613-413-2217. Barry says, Lowell, before closing your pool, you should invite Trudeau over to see if he can show us that he can actually walk on water. David
wait a minute. Hold it. I mean, there's no question about it. Why would you even ask such a silly question? Trudeau can do anything. I told you. Tomorrow, if you don't believe me, if you go into the butcher shop tomorrow, you will see the price of steak. You'll be able to buy a T-bone steak, a big, beautiful, thick T-bone steak for your Barbie for under $1. $10 child care kicks into effect tonight. You can be sure. And all of those reserves with no boil of water, you'll have your clean water in no time flat. Lickety split. You know what lickety split is? It's damn fast. Go ahead, John.
Of all the comments I have on my sheet here, that's the one I never thought you would interrupt. Chrissy, thank you for chiming in on our Twitch platform. She says, I agree. No vaccination proof to vote. I hope people were smart enough to wear masks. Found social distancing was a little bit of a factor when I voted. I found that too. We were kind of squished together, lined up outside last night. David says $610 million gets you a federal election or a day and a half of debt payments.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
it is true. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's come on. I mean,
Drop in the bucket.
what's $600 million? Come on. Your
Add it to my
kids are
tab.
going to be playing for it. You don't have to worry about it. Come on. Go ahead, John.
Sean on Facebook, $600 million or over 500 million MRI machines later. And says, who says the people are never wrong? Leanne, biggest waste of money, his specialty. Robert says, today I sit in disbelief that the voters of Canada have re-elected this egotistical PM and his band of corrupt MPs. The voters have approved his corruption and wasteful spending and therefore given him license to give us more of.
Well, not only that, but when you stop and think about it, it seems to me that if the Prime Minister can be rewarded for corruption and sexual assault and God knows what else, that the rest of us should as well. So I think that the whole concept of crime is just out the window. Very clearly in this country, there is no more crime. We have in one fell stroke wiped out the concept of crime. You can do anything. There's nothing that you can do that anybody is going to do anything other than reward. The Prime Minister has set the example. Reward and plenty of it for corruption. Go ahead, John.
613-413-2217. If Polyev wants the leadership, get rid of O'Toole, says a texter here. Bob chimes in moments ago on Facebook to say, as I'm truly dismayed by the results, I find watching Lowell's show is good therapy. Ken says the popular vote means diddly squat in Canada. Mike is on Facebook. It won't happen.
Well, hold it. Yeah, I understand. Sorry, John.
No.
Yeah, I understand the diddly squat business. I learned that word in grade 3, but it does matter. I mean, I understand that officially it doesn't, that it's the ridings. And by the way, the reason that there is such a discrepancy is that, I mean, very clearly, the voters in the West, from the west of the province of Ontario, the voters don't matter nearly as much. The votes are much more important in downtown Toronto and downtown Montreal. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you, if you look at the truth of the matter, even though the Liberals lost a few votes in Atlantic Canada, essentially it's Atlantic Canada, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver that elects Liberals. In the rest of the country, the Liberals are almost nowhere to be found. There are very few in small town Canada, none in rural Canada, almost none west of the Ontario border. So essentially, the Liberal Party has become a big city party. And the big city votes count a lot more than they do in more rural and western communities. Yes, Shields. This guarantees, I said to you yesterday, thank you, furniture, appliances, electronics, and mattresses. Yes, they're in Pakenham. I have a lot of new listeners almost every day. Pakenham is a lovely little place. It's pretty small, and the store that you'll walk into on the main street of Pakenham is rather small, although they have a really good selection of appliances. But here's the secret at Shields. They have a huge warehouse, and almost all of the appliances that you could ever want are in stock. They're in stock and ready to be delivered within 2 or 3 days. Check out the prices, folks. The website, shields.ca. You will see all of the appliances are there, the different kinds, the colors, the styles, and the prices and the savings. Many cases, you're going to save $400 or $500, even in some cases more than that. Shields, you know what else about Shields? They're good people, honest people. When they say that they will deliver on such and such a day, they will. When they quote a price, they stick to it. They're good, honest people. These days, not a bad idea to stick with people like that. John, more texts.
Tom says you can add Ottawa to that city pack. Cheryl says the popular vote means sweet flying fox farts, says Cheryl.
Okay. Well, the fact of the matter is that more people voted Conservative than voted Liberal. Go ahead.
Eric, thank you on Facebook. That is $15 for every man, woman, and child in Canada for a family of 4 who would have to scrape just to make ends meet and feed themselves. That's $60 that they didn't have to pay for this election.
Hey, don't worry. Hey, you know what? There we go. Don't worry. Be happy. Trudeau's in power. The cost of living is going to plummet. Okay? You check it out. Lettuce tomorrow. I don't know what you're paying for lettuce now, but the price is going to drop to almost nothing tomorrow. All the lettuce farmers in Canada are rejoiced. They couldn't wait. They say, you know what? If Trudeau gets back in, we're going to lower the price of lettuce. The beef farmers, not the beef farmers in the West, but the beef farmers here in Ontario, they said, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. If Trudeau gets in, we're cutting the price of beef to 1/2 of what it was. There you go, folks. T-bone steaks for $1, thanks to Trudeau. Mark my words. Go ahead, John. If you don't believe me.
Jennifer's watching on one of our Facebook platforms. O'Toole's a good man. The media is controlled by the Liberals. The CTV endorsed Trudeau. Odd. I grew up believing media isn't supposed to be biased. O'Toole deserves the job, but PCs need to be progressive, so maybe one of the strong women like Ms. Rempel Gardner should run in the next election. Katie says, these are the ridings where PPC split the vote enough for Liberal NDP to get in so far. Anyway, she put that list. It's on our Facebook feed. Peter says, waste of money. Only good thing was Trudeau didn't win a majority. Hope the next leader has more fire and stops running from supporters in the media such as the Rebel. Time to clean house in Conservative headquarters, he says. Terry says, on the bright side, Moan Surf, who loves our Taliban brothers, got kicked out. Dwight says Alberta has no mechanism to leave, but anger will be ginned up out there. I don't know what ginned up means, but there you go. I wouldn't blame the West if they said so long. Let the Eastern bastards freeze. And Peter says O'Toole didn't fight him back. Such weak Conservative leaders. Put on your Trump pants and go to war, opposed to being sweet and nice. There we go.
All right. You know, one of the things that bothers me a little bit is how people can support candidates. Forget the party, forget Trudeau, but individual candidates. Let me give you one example of how I don't understand how people could vote for Yasser Naqvi in Ottawa Centre. Excuse me. Yasser's a nice man. He's very pleasant. All smiles, handshakes. But Yasser Naqvi was head of the Provincial Liberal Party with Kathleen Wynne as Premier. Yasser Naqvi was directly involved in the billion-dollar gas plant scandal. Yasser Naqvi was actively involved in the creation of the Green Energy Plan that drove over 100,000 jobs out of Ontario, that raised your hydro rates to almost back-breaking levels. Yasser Naqvi was head of the party when the party was building windmills, billions and billions and billions on windmills and solar panels, the disaster that it has become. Yasser Naqvi is a man who, on the lunch bunch with Rob Snow and I, when I told him that they had contacted me from Quebec Hydro and offered to supply all of Eastern Ontario, in fact most of Ontario, with hydro from Hydro-Quebec at about half the rate that we were paying. This happened. I was very public with this. I told Yasser Naqvi, he said this publicly on the air, on CFRA, with 100,000 people listening. We cannot buy hydro from Quebec because they might separate. So that's the kind of guy. Engineered this, refused to even talk about buying hydro at half the rate. I mean, if you would think that if he really cared about people in Ontario, he would have at least pursued this, right? And you would think that anybody. But no, they were absolutely... Yasser Naqvi was president of the party when they went ahead with the Green Energy Act that virtually bankrupted the province. And yet, he's been rewarded as well. And then we have in my riding, and I admit a bias here, we have a woman, Jenna Sudds, very nice woman, very, very competent city councillor, but in the middle of her term as city councillor, announces that she's going to take a leave of absence without pay, she says, thus leaving her constituents in Canada with no representation on city council while she fights this election. And then to rub salt into the wound, she says, and if I lose, I'm going to come back. But in the meantime, residents are left without a member. And yet, she is elected over a very, very, very competent, very good woman. I just don't understand how voters can support that kind of thing. Forget the party, forget Trudeau, but individuals. How could you possibly vote for Yasser Naqvi? This is the guy that was very involved in unbelievable scandals. Drove 100,000 jobs out of the province, and you voted for him? I don't understand it. It just, I just don't understand how you can do that. But then there's a lot of things I don't understand. John, have we got some more texts there?
Absolutely, we do. By the way, it's now easier than ever to connect to all of Lowell's platforms. Just go to lowellgreen.com. 613-413-2217. Texter says, a $600 million nothing burger. Three Stooges running near identical platforms. Just had to pick one, but they got the wrong one again. Terry is watching on Twitch. He opines that Hydro-Quebec just got the contract to power New York City.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd forgotten that. Yes. The state of New York, well, already Hydro-Quebec supplies a good chunk of New York State. But New York State has just signed a long-term contract with Hydro-Quebec, and Hydro-Quebec is going to supply much of New York State with all of the hydro it needs from the rates that I saw, at about 1/4 of the average rate here in Ontario. In other words, if they could supply New York State with that, they could, and they offered to supply Ontario with that, and were turned down by people like Yasser Naqvi, who's just been elected. Go ahead. Yes, Centennial Glass. Once again, we're talking about good people here. Let's see that. I want to see those wine. There we go. See the beautiful glasswork? The reason that I like this is that it shows how innovative Centennial Glass is. You will see there's three. They're wine racks, right, John?
Well, wine, more like wine closets, but yes.
Wine closet. But you can see how innovative they are. And what I'm saying here is that no matter if you have an idea, and I had never thought of wine closets made of glass, but very clearly they're quite beautiful. But that's just one example. So it's not just, yes, windows and doors and glass showers and glass mirrors, etc. Yes, nobody does a better job, has a better selection at better prices than Centennial. But it's the innovation that I really like. The ideas that they come up with. Those people are really, really good. You got an idea, you want to build something, you want to do something, and you say, geez, you know what? I wonder if glass would work there. Give Centennial Glass a call. They'll be able to tell you, they'll be able to price it out, give you some ideas, even give you some drawings. They're good people as well. Centennial Glass, centennialglass.ca. John, more texts.
Lillian is drooling over those wine closets that she just saw on her screen a second ago. Yeah. Hey, if we can get this show over 20 views a day, maybe we can start making some money here, and I can start putting in some glass into the studio. I'd really, really like to do that, and I'm sure Centennial could do that for us. Cheryl says, what a waste. All Liberal candidates should be required to take a lie detector test before their names are put on the ballot. A text here at 613-413-2217 says, our man Chris Lewis won handily down here in Essex Harrow, despite Trudeau using $600 million of our money to influence the media. I agree with another Facebook friend. O'Toole needs to put on some Trump pants and get tough. That is Bruce. And we've got a question from Jamie by email, lowell@blasttheradio.com. Jamie asks, can we not demand a recount in 2 weeks' time when quarantining COVID patients are able to vote? Trudeau seemed to control the questions that were asked of him, whereas O'Toole didn't have any control. That was Trudeau's game. What the heck is wrong with people? Very sad, says Jamie.
Yeah, well, I know that some people are upset, but the people have spoken. Once again, it's very clear. Conservatism is not dead in this country. I think that's very important to understand. More people, about 600,000 more people voted Conservative than voted Liberal. There is a system in this country that's got to be changed that very clearly, if ever we needed more evidence of how the system, the voting system, the riding system, favors the Liberals, we have now seen it for 2 elections in a row. So not only, this is how difficult it is to be a conservative and win anything. Essentially, you have the media against you. You've got, in this case, Trudeau bribed the media with almost $2 billion in total. That includes the CBC. So most of the media is bent to the left. They're Liberal supporters, etc., etc. You've got Trudeau that's in power, handing out billions of dollars in bribes and all the rest of it, and then on top of it all, if that's not enough, then you have an electoral system that very clearly favors the Liberals. If you don't believe me, then explain to me how it can be that for 2 elections in a row, Conservatives have outpolled the Liberals and yet lost the election to the Liberals. John, more texts, please.
Just a couple to wrap things up here on the show on Facebook. Conservative Party needs to get back together, PPC and Conservative together again to save Canada. Connie is on Facebook as well. She says it's so difficult to believe that so many Canadians continue to be selfish. Those people only vote for what's good for themselves and not what is good for the country. And another commenter says, I'm just in disbelief, speechless that they got back in. It really makes me think of my fellow man. Some of the comments coming in on our social media platforms. Lowell?
Thank you all, folks. Good response. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, folks, T-bone steaks for $1 thanks to Trudeau. Remember where you heard it first. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.